Hey everybody, Josh Tovad, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy and Garland ISD, Garland, USA here on an awesome Sunday here in Texas. Our district just finished the whole week of vacation, so we were able to recharge those batteries, sharpen that saw, aka Covey, Stephen Covey, and making sure that we're ready to go on tomorrow. So I hear that a lot of educators also had some time off, so I hope you enjoyed this time. Now it's as we're starting the second report card, I don't know what quarter you're in, we have to have these opportunities, these professional free PD opportunities to learn from each other, to move ahead in 22, 23, because our kids are going through all of the same kind of noise that's out there. And the only way that we're going to get together is by making sure that we like it, share it, learn from it, and always be stronger together. So remember, whether you find yourself in Alaska, whether you find yourself in Hawaii, whether you find yourself in Maine or in Florida or anywhere in the middle 48, we're here together with an awesome guest tonight. She is part of the Fantastic Four, and we'll get into Doc in a little bit, but join us. Take it away, Dean.
I love that, Josh. Thank you so much. Hey, Sunday nights are all about getting better. And first and foremost, I'm still a little bit jealous. You guys are into the second trimester already. So time is really flying by for you. We're at the midpoint of our first trimester. So again, a couple of weeks behind, but our teachers are ready to go. They're raring. They're doing all the good things. And I'm so glad. And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to check out this episode tonight. And again, Sunday nights are all about getting better, like I said. And tonight, Roz is going to come on with us. And we're going to have a great conversation just about her rise in the world of education and what she's doing and how she's making that positive impact. Again, my name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts. And one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle. And I'll tell you what, we just have a good time. How was your football day today, Josh? Did I see your Redskins? They play?
Well, the Redskins barely won against the Bears on Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
And then the quarterback destroyed his finger. He's out for 6 weeks.
This is football. Tape it up. Tape it up.
Oh, it is what it is. Hey, but before we, oh, this is horrible. But before we get into that, just remember that today is Bosses Day. Hey, all principals, National Principals Month. Thank you for everything that you do out there. Please reach out to all your bosses, whoever they might be. Reach out to them via text, via phone call, whatever it might be. But if you're a boss, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for putting in extra time away from your families, especially for all our principals on this year month. And yesterday we ended up National Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you to all the Hispanics that go out there and help out this beautiful melting pot that's called the United States. But you know what? Without further ado, we have an awesome young lady who has, yes, and you know what, Dean, let me tell you, she has a great podcast. She's part of the Fantastic Four with Principal Cafele, Chica Houston, and Coach Hurt, and they're part of this Unlock the Middle flagship show. And she invited myself a couple of weeks ago, twice already. I've been on The Village Elders, and she'll talk about that a little bit, about all her influence, but you cannot get away with that beautiful smile and that spark of fire that she has. So without further ado, our guest tonight, Dean, Dr. Roz Gaskins. Welcome to the show, Roz.
Hey, Roz.
Thank you so much. I am so excited. I'm a huge fan. Unlock the Middle. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're jacked up to have you here for crying out loud. This is good stuff. Josh hasn't stopped talking all week long about you being on here, so we're really looking forward to our conversation tonight. Roz, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you come from, kind of your rise to where you've gotten to where you are today, and just a little bit of that pedigree background.
Awesome, awesome. So, listen, I'm so excited. First of all, I am a 20 plus year educator in the DMV area. I'm in Maryland, Prince George's County Public School. This is my first year as an assistant principal. So I am definitely looking up to you guys and taking notes as you guys share information about leadership and being a principal, an assistant principal. So thank you so much for all your wisdom. But I am from Norfolk, Virginia, and I grew up in that area. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I just wanted to be a math teacher. But then I went to Morgan State. Josh knows I'm a proud Morganite. And I fell in love with education, and I started my career as an elementary school teacher. So half of my career has been in elementary, teaching fourth and fifth grade. And then because I love math so much, everyone's kept saying, you should try secondary, try middle school. So I did. And I loved it. And I actually became an instructional coach. I was a teacher leader. And that's kind of where I kind of started looking into leadership and coaching and, leadership coaching, instructional coaching. And that's pretty much where it all started. And then during the pandemic, like so many of us, I was like, what in the world is going on? I don't know what to do. And so I looked to social media, and that's where I found you guys. I found Principal Confele, Create and Educate, and so many other podcasts. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do this as well. I'm just going to share. And I've been doing that since the pandemic. We go live on The Village on Facebook at The Village LG, and we just share information about what we're learning, things that we're experiencing, just to help and encourage other people. So that's just a little bit about me. And of course, I'm a wife, mother too. I have a dog.
We got it all. We got the picture. I love it.
So, so let's peel back that onion a little bit more, Roz. Let's talk to everybody. Who was Roz as a student in middle school, high school? Who was she? Talk to us a little bit. Because obviously, where you're at right now, doctor,
Yes.
PhD. We all have an origin, an origin story. Who was Dr. Roz?
Oh, good question, Josh. So my maiden name is King. And so, in school, you learn about Dr. Martin Luther King. And I, I just knew that he was Dr. King. And so I used to tell my friends, I used to not tell the truth. And I would say that I was related to Dr. King because my last name is King. And I thought that being a doctor meant that you were in the medical profession. And so my mother, because I was little, I was like maybe kindergarten. And so my mother told me about education and how you can get your doctorate in education. And I was like, wow, so I could be Dr. King too. And that just kind of created a spark in me to value education so that I can be Dr. King one day, like Dr. Martin Luther King. So he is my hero. He was my inspiration of getting my doctorate. But I've always loved education. I used to play with my dolls and, play school. Um, when I was in school, I was kind of bossy. Um, and it's very talkative. And look at me now, talking with you guys. But see, all of those teachers who told me I had to stop talking, look at me now. But I was very talkative, very social. I was a cheerleader. But again, some people told me not to be a teacher. Some of my teachers tried to push me into becoming, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur because I love math. And I was like, no, I want to be a teacher. So it's really interesting that some of the teachers actually was giving me advice and trying to put me somewhere else. And even though teaching is my passion, but surprisingly, they did not want me to be a teacher. But look at me now. I love it.
What did you
Let me, let
feel
me,
when what did you feel when they asked you that, or when they made that comment? What, what did that bring to you?
Well, it was just shocking. I am named after my aunt, Aunt Rosalind, who taught for 30 plus years. So I was kind of following her footsteps as well. And she too would kind of tell me sometimes, are you sure? Because everyone kept telling me how much hard work it is. You're not going to get paid that much. They would just tell me the negative things about teaching. But I was looking at my teachers as heroes. I was one of those children who loved my teachers. And so I didn't understand why they were telling me, oh, it's so hard, you're not gonna get paid money. I'm like, no, I want to be like you. And so it didn't discourage me. And then I had my grandmothers and different family members who did encourage me to go to stick it out and to become a teacher. But I did have a lot of teachers who said, are you sure? Maybe you should do something else. You're great with math. Look at computers. Look at business, finance. They were giving me all other options other than being a teacher. So,
Roz, I'm going to throw this in there. This isn't a question that we talked about. Instructional coaching. How much do you think that helped you to frame yourself as the type of teacher that you'd want to be?
you know what? It's funny that you asked that question because the reason why I became an instructional coach is because I didn't have one.
Yeah, no, not many teachers do. I mean, the principal is the instructional coach, and the principal doesn't have time to sit with every single teacher every second of the day. So it's very hard. So you have a luxury when you have an instructional coach in your district. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a real luxury.
Definitely. And so, one of the things when I think about my journey as a new teacher, I was scrambling, leaving Morgan State, you have all of the information from, the books, but then you go right into the classroom with 35 students. Some of them have special needs. They have different situations. And I was right, look, Josh, I was right by the Redskins Stadium, right in the heart of the city. So it was a rough. And I was like, what am I going to do? And so I had to kind of figure it out. Luckily, I did have some veteran teachers who took me under their wing to kind of teach me the ropes. And I would take my lunch breaks and sit in their classrooms and try to steal all the tricks, right?
Love it. Yep.
But yeah, so becoming an instructional coach really helped me um, feel that fire in me of making sure I want to help others, I want to serve, and that servant leadership. That's just what I'm about.
So let's talk about teacher leadership and why it's so important from the administrator's lens to really empower and tie into that. Every teacher is a leader. I don't care what you say. Every teacher is a head coach.
Thank you.
You cannot. It doesn't matter if I'm the leader of a building and I've got 100 employees. You're the leader of your classroom, and you got 25 little kids looking at you every day. They are
Yes.
looking for your leadership. So leadership is embedded in everything that we do. Let's talk about the importance of ensuring from the top down that we really light that fire.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, all teachers are leaders. We say that all the time within the village, that teacher leadership is a mindset, not a position. So you don't have to be a department chair, a coordinator, a coach. If you are a teacher, you should be developed as a leader because you have influence, you have impact, not only with your students, with the parents that you serve, and also your team members. So all teachers are leaders. So too often our principals where they'll look at their teachers and say, well, who will be the next assistant principal? Who will be the next principal? That's good. You should always be developing the next leader, your replacement. But that's not what it's all about. You should not only be looking for the next administrator, but just look for the next leader. Your school need leaders. You need people who are going to be change agents, who are going to advocate for the students, who are going to step up, roll up their sleeves, and do the work. Because a principal or assistant principal, you can't do it all. So we need our teacher leaders. We need our teachers to step up, get out of their four walls and really carry out that mission. So teacher leadership is so essential. If you're going to have a collaborative school culture, that positive culture that we want in our schools, you have to empower the teachers to do the work.
And what does that look like, Roz, from your perspective in regards to teacher leadership? What does that look like?
What it looks like is making sure that teachers have a voice. So you're inviting teachers to the table, not just a few people to the table, that you're having staff members where you're listening to teachers, where you're empowering teachers, where you're giving teachers that space to be creative, to take risks. Don't just say, okay, I'm the principal, I'm the only one who can share an idea, and what I say goes. That you're trying to get buy-in, and also that you're collaborating with your teachers, getting their input, and letting them take risks and letting them have a say as to what's going on in the building. Because teachers, guess what? We know through this pandemic, our teachers are brilliant and they have great ideas. So we don't want to just have the top, going to give all of the information to the teachers, and the teachers are just sitting back, say, oh, I just got to do it because the principal said so. But the teachers, let them have a voice, let them help with that work. When we have professional development, our teachers should be helping with that work. Our teachers know so much. Let them lead the training as well. So again,
Hmm.
let's empower our teachers
You mean
to
like
be
do
leaders.
an interest inventory of what they think is important and then bring it to the
Definitely.
table and then create consensus? Ah,
Exactly,
who
exactly.
thought?
Ask a teacher, what do they want, how do they want this collaborative culture to be like? What do they want? Collaborative planning, staff meetings, let them have some voice. Even field trips. I've been in schools where the teachers were, sitting back quiet, didn't even want to give their advice for field trips, just little things. No, we need to all come to the table. We all have great ideas. We have a voice, And we want all teachers to be trained as leaders. We can't just train our department chairs on how to analyze data, on how to, do different things with technology. All teachers need to be trained as leaders because they are.
So, Roz, I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. What does it look
Uh-oh.
like in your school? What does that look like? Okay. We can all have voice at a round table. There's no doubt about it. And you know what? Developing consensus is never easy. And I'll tell you what,
Never.
you've got to be able to agree to disagree in what's in the best interest of kids. However, and that's hard sometimes if your idea doesn't get pushed forward. So, talk about in your school. Again, we want a voice. There's no doubt about that. And we want to hear from them because they are in the trenches. But just give us some examples in your school and what that looks like.
Awesome. So one of the things, simple things like having courageous conversations, and it's two-way street. You know, letting the teachers also give their feedback to the leaders as well, and having those that open door policy where teachers can come in, sit down with administrators, voice their opinions, their concerns, and they are heard. So something as simple as that. I've been in schools where teachers were scared to say anything, to give
Hmm.
principals feedback because they were scared that it would be shot down, and things that would get written up or something, to that effect. Again, having that open door policy, just letting teachers know that they have a voice. Also, we have weekly collaborative planning meetings. You want to change it up where it's not just one teacher always doing all of the work for that team. So let's share the load. So all of the teachers have a role to play in developing lessons, getting resources, and so forth. So again, you're treating everyone in that team as a leader.
Roz, very quickly, you're saying now in your district you have weekly PLCs, professional learning community meetings. So once a week they all come together?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They come together once a week as a whole team, and then
Yep.
on that off week, they may come together as like triads or little partners to do their own professional development. For instance, if I'm a teacher and I need help with, let's say, a smart board, learning smart board technology, I might work with my another team member across the hall on that off week to just learn more about the smart board. So one week the whole group, and then the next week, then they break up into smaller groups to do some professional development that they see as important. So
I'm
they
feeling
get to
pretty lucky.
pick the topic.
There's no substitute when you can come together and plan and bring all your curriculum teachers together. No substitute. So in our district, you get it every day. You get a 40-minute block every day together with your team. Think about that for a second.
Oh wow.
40
Awesome.
minutes every day. So that's a great deal. Plus their prep time, plus their lunch. So it works out really well. It's a good schedule. Josh.
So Ross, I know that I've been honored to learn from you and your guests on your podcast about campus culture, and you guys given me a lot of insight on how to become a better version of myself. And so I present to you the conversations that you've had in your other podcasts, not only the one that I was on, but about team members coming together and enhancing the everyday life of not only themselves but their kids. So talk to us about how do we establish that? Now, obviously, we have the first stage here, giving everyone a voice, right? But then how does that spread through the whole body of the campus?
Well,
Great question.
and you guys talked about it too. You got to make sure that as a school, you know your vision, you know the heart of the school and what you're all about. And of course, we teach students, we teach our children, and that has to be at the heart of what we're about. And so, in our book, Set Your Team on Fire, we start off by talking about the fuel, and the fuel of the fire is our purpose. And again, we have to know our why. We have to know our vision. So that's going to get us excited about the work. And so we have to make sure that when we walk in the building, that you can feel it, that you can sense it, that everyone is committed to our students and making sure that we know our students, we know our families, we know our community that we serve. So that has to be at the heart of what we do, making sure that we know our purpose, we know our why. Individually, I need to know my purpose, but as a school community, what's our vision? What's our purpose? What's going to get everyone excited to go into that building every day to do the work? And it's going to go trickle all the way back down to our students that we serve.
Set your school on fire. So you took on the arduous task of putting a book together while still working and while having a family and while doing all these things. Not easy. And the more people I talk to who've done it, I go, wow. I mean, I just don't know how you do it. But at the end of the day, you did it. Take us through that journey. What was that like? How did you get from A to Z and get to completion of doing something like that?
Well, it all started basically with my dissertation. I wrote my dissertation all about professional learning communities and being an instructional coach. And when I first began, I was thinking that I was just going to focus on our teacher leaders, right? But once I did my research, I realized again, the principal seat is so important. When you're talking about developing this collaborative culture, it starts with the principal and making sure that the leaders support and also make sure that they're building this collaborative culture. So that's pretty much how it all began with my dissertation. So set your team, of course, you want to set your school on fire, but my book is set your team on fire because that's where we're going to start. So that next book maybe just set your school on fire, but we're going to start with that team. So that's pretty much how it started. And then I have an awesome sister, Coach Williams. She's also an instructional coach, like her big sister, and we work together. We sharing experiences. So in the book, that's what we included: information from our personal experiences dealing with different schools that were not collaborative. Some were collaborative, some were not. And so you'll learn kind of some of the things that you should and should not do when you're trying to build this collaborative culture in your schools. And again, it starts with teacher leadership and making sure the principal is making sure that that is a priority.
So within your research, what were some of the big things you found that really supported your thesis and what you were trying to accomplish here, and that really got your mind set on writing this book for others to be able to follow?
Right. So again, what I found is that people make it so complicated. If
They
you
do.
look up professional learning communities, you'll find a ton of books, a ton of articles, and templates and information, and people seem overwhelmed. So they either make it too complicated, where people don't want to, even try it, or they kind of fumble through it, or they just don't give any information. Just tell teachers, "Oh, just meet," and they don't give any structure for those professional development, professional learning communities. So we've seen one extreme to the next. And what we found is that teachers, when they talk about, professional learning communities and working collaboratively in teams, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have, they don't have time for it. They can do something else. It's not impactful. So a lot of people have negative, misconceptions about working collaboratively in their schools. And so that's why we call the book Set Your Team on Fire, because we feel like we need to get people excited about it and really, in order to build this collaborative school culture, we need everyone involved and excited about coming together and to doing the work. I know Principal Confele always talks about he's on fire. And unfortunately, if you go into schools right now, especially after the pandemic, we don't really sometimes don't have that fire burning. I know in your schools, everyone's excited, but sometimes people just like, I'm tired, I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed, I'm stressed out. So how can we get teachers really excited? So that's what we found in our research is that people have these negative ideas. They either feel too overwhelmed or they don't have the training and support that they need. So hopefully, with this book is right in the middle where we break it down, make it, simplify this process, and provide that support as well that they're looking for.
I love it.
Now, Roz, let's dissect that a little bit more. Because I've at my previous district, I'm all solution tree. I'm all about the institutes. I've been to three institute solution tree, and the four set up such a great structure during those sessions, those 3 day. I mean, it's kind of like Avid. It's a big Kool Aid, and once you get into that, you're like really part of the show or the belief system. And you know that the fours and part of the PLCs is just you only address the four questions. That's all you do. You're not there for any other reason than the four questions.
Hmm.
So how do you embed knowing that, especially that fourth question of what do we do when they get it? Which is the hardest part for me, not the reteaching, the
Exactly.
scaffolding, but about what do you do with the ones that don't get it or that do get it? What do we do with them? So how do you embed the fire aspect of it during that? Because you have a structured time and Dean has a structured time in different aspects of it. So how do you embed that when you know that we're only supposed to discuss the four questions?
Right, right. So again, that's one of the things that we talk about is the time aspect, and then what do you do, right? You gotta put like Principal Confele. I'm thinking about putting that mirror up, right? And really being reflective. So when they don't get it, we have to be reflective. And as a teacher, there's two things in the book we talk about: teacher practice and student achievement. Those are the two things that we should be talking about. So if we're looking at data, we have to drill down that information and think about, okay, are the students getting it? Are they not? And then what is it about our practice, about what we're doing, that's causing the students not to get it or for them to get it? So we have to be reflective in our practice and don't get too sensitive, and say, oh, well, I did all I could do, but let's hold each other accountable. Let's really think about our practice. You got to be researchers. This is action research. And we have to figure out what interventions are going to work, what strategies are going to work. And then we're going to work together as a team to making sure that our students are getting it. So that's one of the things, that's one of the hardest things to get new teachers to do is to be reflective, especially some of our veteran teachers. They're like, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yep.
This
Yep.
is the way I've been doing it. Same lesson plan. But no, this based on the data, our students are they need something else. The students that we have right now need something else.
So, Dr. Gaskins, what I'm going to ask you, Josh talked about, excuse me, Principal Tovar asked about how you embedded it. I'm going to ask you a different version. How do you sustain it and build
Woo!
upon it? Okay, because anybody can embed it. And guess what? Like in anything else in public education, it evolves and it changes and it turns, it pivots and adjusts. So, let's talk about sustainability.
Yes. So again, it goes from the top. If the principal, they have to have the structures. You already said where they have time within the school day where they can meet to go through data, to do the work, right? But hopefully, if you build momentum, that teachers won't be distracted because we all have other things that come up within the school year that
Sure.
kind of distract us from maintaining that work. But if there's a structure in place in the school day, where teachers can meet, they can analyze data, look at student work, do professional development, then of course, then we can maintain that fire. But again, you have to have structure in place. So we talked about the fuel, but that's the oxygen. When we talk about the three elements, and the oxygen is creating that function and those structures and those systems in place to hopefully keep and maintaining that fire and keeping it burning throughout the entire school year.
You said the key word systems,
Yes,
systems, systems work, guys. Listen to it. Create systems that are good for kids and good for student outcomes. Great things will happen. Stick to your system.
definitely, definitely. Because again, like I
Josh,
said, things come up and we
they
get
do. They
tired.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
If pivot,
Ross,
I'm sorry, I was going to say, if COVID taught us one thing, we can pivot and adjust to almost anything right now. You can pivot and adjust to meet where kids where they need to be.
seeing that shirt, I have to ask two questions. Number one, why I don't have one? I've been on a guest twice. Just saying, just saying. Yeah, but talk to us about the village. Talk to us about
What
what
is
you
the
bring to the
village?
table. Free PD at your fingertips, no excuses, and then segue your conversation into your beautiful book where your blood, sweat, and tears came to life to help others.
yes. So, right, like I said, during the pandemic, that's something that just kind of started with the Village Leadership Group LLC. We started basically, like you said, just on social media, sharing our best practices, our questions, our concerns, our challenges, our oops. Uh, it just
Oops.
didn't work, and we basically did that because we saw so many people like yourself going to social media and sharing during the pandemic. So we are an education consulting company, and it's all about leadership coaching. And again, training teachers as leaders because teacher leadership is so essential, and that's our focus is teacher leadership. And so you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Village LG. Josh is pulling me into Twitterverse. Uh, so I am going to start learning more about Twitter. Thank you, Josh. But yes, so that is something that again was birthed during the pandemic. So here we are, and now we also have a book. We have also an online course that goes along with the book. So once you read the book, or as you're reading the book, you can also log on to the course. And the course is again titled with the book "Set Your Team on Fire: The Three Elements of a PLC." And that's our first book. We have two other books that we're working on this, in draft mode. So one thing at a time, Josh, one thing at a time.
Roz, what lies ahead for you? What's next for you? What do you want to do? I mean, you're in your middle of your career. You're 20
Yes.
years in. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a principal? Do you want to be a
But
district leader?
listen, slow down.
Oh, okay. I like it. She's in charge
Like
tonight.
I love what I do, and right now I'm an assistant principal. Like I said, it's my first year
Yep.
as an assistant principal. I've been a teacher leader for over 15 years, I guess, and this is my first year as an assistant principal. I've been an acting assistant principal before, but this is my first year as I've been also like a dean of students as well before. I love what I do, and so being a principal, I don't know, but one thing at a time. But so yes, I love leadership. I love working with teachers. I love instructional coaching and leadership coaching. That's what I am, who I am, and that's what I'm about. And I just have a passion for it. So I love it.
What's your favorite thing about being an assistant principal? Come on, what is it?
You know what? It's so funny. This is kind
Lunch
of
duty.
weird. I don't know if anyone else have this story, but I'm at a high school and it's so weird. Like I said, half of my career has been in elementary, but going to games and seeing the students' faces just brighten up because you are there in the bleachers, on the stands, on the sidelines,
Yep.
and then they're waving, "Hi, Dr. Gaskins." That just warms my heart, and that's just so exciting. Um, I wish I would have done this before, gone to high school world, but I love it. That's but so far that's my favorite. It's always gonna. If you ask about the favorite anything, it's always gonna be something tied to students because this is why we became educators, right?
That's right.
So I love my students. I love working with the students, even the ones who have problems. They come to my office and you know, they vent or share information about what's going on. I just love my students. So that's my favorite thing. Of course, being a teacher, coach, anything is always going to be going back to my students.
Absolutely love it.
And you know what, Roz? I 100% agree with you. There is no other feeling than homecoming week in a high school. If you've never had the honor of being the
Yeah,
principal at that situation with a big school, little school at the high school level, to where some schools you put the crown on the homecoming king or queen, you get to see the band perform their show, you get to see everybody. That's the ultimate high for me, being in charge
yeah,
of a big high school and having that experience because you really, like you said, there's an energy that goes from that whole community into you because you know what, when you look out into the stands and you see thousands of people at a football game, and the best thing is when you do win the full homecoming football game, it all goes through you. You know, you go home and you're so jacked up, you're so
right.
wired up with all the happiness of kids with the letters on their chest, the name of the school, their face painted. That is a high that is addictive. Let me
Yeah,
tell
it
you.
is.
So that's
That's a
one of the
school
best things.
culture created, is what it
Yes.
is. Think
Exactly.
about it. From the
So
inside
Ross,
out.
so talk to us, Ross, real quick. Talk to that person in Iowa that just got hired last week. Talk to that individual in Montana that is 30 years in the system. Talk to that person that's debating whether or not to leave in Arizona. Give him some advice right now as we're about to close off 22 and start 23.
Oh wow. Now are they a teacher or an administrator?
Don't matter. We're all in the same boat. We're in the
All
same
right.
plane.
Listen, dig deep. Dig deep into your why, into your purpose. My purpose is to have an impact on students' lives, and that keeps me motivated. So if you're into this business and profession, your why has to keep you going and keep you motivated. So every day, think about why you're here and why you're going, why you signed up to be a principal, an administrator, a teacher. It's all about your students. And so get to know them and really know that you have so much impact and influence in their lives. So regardless of what's going on, think about your why and your purpose and know that you're you're doing amazing work and that you make a difference every day in in your children's lives. So just remember that. So when it's tough, when it gets tough, just think about your why and keep it going.
Dr. Roz Gaskins, teacher, educator, assistant principals, leader, podcaster, author. What else can she do? The story will be told again at another time. There's no doubt about it. Listen, Dr. Gaskins, so good to have you on here tonight. We enjoyed everything about you, what you're doing, where you're going, and how you're getting there. You keep being that person in your school. Keep that school on fire, just like you're saying, in regards to not only the teacher leadership teams, but that entire culture, because that is where all those type of kids want to be. Josh, what do you think of that?
Hey, I think that that's awesome. You're right. You know what? In homage to Jefe, who's looking at the show right now, he's on the call. I don't have a bat like he does, but let's imagine he just did a home run. You hit a home run. Great job, Roz. And you know what? Welcome to everybody to tonight's show. But you know what? We will be back on Thursday for the Red Zone. What time, Dean? What time?
That's 9 o'clock Thursday Eastern time.
There you go.
Thank you,
Exactly. So
Josh.
join us. Join us this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we have a compliment. We have a special set of guests coming up this Thursday. So please make sure you join us. Who is it going to be? You got to tune in and find out. And after you're done with us, the Fantastic Four has some of the shows. This lady right here, she has a show on Tuesdays. What time, Roz?
At 6 p.m. Eastern time.
6 p.m. And if not, watch the Fantastic Four on Saturday with Coach Hurt at 10 a.m., Shika Houston at 10:30 with Dr. Tammy and Jefe 10:55 a.m. Join us, Fantastic Four. We have had everybody here because we're awesome, and you know what? We're stronger together. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Thank you, everybody out there. Dean, take us home.
Hey, have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much again, Dr.
Thanks for
Gaskins, for being
having
here
me.
tonight. This is all about getting better together. That's what we're going to continue to do. Everybody out there, peace out. Have a great week. Take care of those kids because they deserve the best you. Don't ever forget that.